Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It, Daf Yomi here. We're learning Maseches Yevamos, Daf Kuftet 109. We have a fabulous shir for you today. We'll be discussing more about Miyun. Again, a girl is married off by her brother or her mother at a young age. What are the requirements of Miyun? And we'll discuss even the Doraisa form of a child getting married. Her father marries her off. How that ties in related to Ibum and Chalitza, but Ibum and Chalitza and Miyun together, I mean, there's nothing better than this, right? I was talking to my father last night, and he asked me, he said, he learns Daf Yomi also, and he says, I understand, is there ever a case like this? Do you ever remember a little minor girl being married off, whether by her mother or brother or even by her father, which would be the rice? Do you ever remember such a case? I was at a loss. I said, I can't really remember such a case. I don't know whether this ever happened. It did happen in the Torah. Rivka, Imenu, got married originally by her father. Her father died, apparently, ate the soup. He was poisoned. Her father was Besuel. Besuel was poisoned. Lovin, maybe his son poisoned him, so the brother married her off. And the mother, and she consented. So she was 3 years old, so that's a case. But besides that, have you ever heard about this? My father's perturbed a little bit that, especially Maseches Yevamos has, because we don't do Yibam nowadays, it has almost no practical ramifications. I promised him I am going to find practical ramifications in Seder Nashim. Hopefully by Maseches Kedusha, when we talked about Kedusha Ketana more, about the father marrying his daughter off as a Ketana, I'll have an explanation how it relates to everyday life. Right now I don't. I'm at a loss. But I will discuss something that even events here. We're going to discuss a line of Agadita in the Gemara for a change of Maseches Yevamos about the meaning of learning Torah, and obviously you're supposed to learn Torah in order to Mekayim the Torah. How bad is it to learn Torah just for the sake of learning Torah and not for the purpose of being Mekayim the Torah? We're going to find out on Kuf Ted Amud Beis 109b. Let's get started. The Mishnah on the bottom. Kuf Ted Amud Beis is the last line of Magarish. A man divorces a wife and he remarries her, right? A gadol, not talking about Ketana. He marries a gadol. They're both adults, and he returns her, and then he dies, right? And he has a brother, Muteras the Yavam. There's no reason she should Muteras the Yavam. She should sort of the Yavam. He died without children. Forget about the fact that he originally divorced her. Lezer Oser, we're going to see Lezer Aser, it's Xer the Rabban. We're going to see it in the daf over here. They're going to explain Lezer Shita. Kind of Magarish Gesoma. Similar law would be someone with Magarish Gesoma, a minor daughter, a minor girl, who was married by her brother or mother of Echzira, and then he was Machzer as a Ketana, Muteras the Yavam. She again could be married to the Yavam. Lezer, again, Aser, we'll see his reasoning in the Gemara. Ketana she see Aviv in his Garsha. So let's say now, in case we're talking about shifting gears, that the father actually is alive and he's Makadish his daughter as a Ketana, which is valid though, right? So the Gemara says I'm getting a Kedusha. It's valid Minat Torah. And then she becomes divorced as a Ketana. So she returns, Kisom Mechayaav, she becomes like an orphan, even though her father's alive, she's like an orphan. Vechzira, and then he marries her again, which would only be the Rabbanan, because once she's a Yisoma, the marriage is only the Rabbanan. Divrei Al-Kol Asur L'Yavam, everyone agrees, even the Rabbanan agree that it's Asur L'Yavam, because in this case, right, the original marriage, the original Eishes Ach, when he married the brother, who ended up dying, that was a marriage d'oraisa. And then he was Megarish her, and then he married her again, so that second marriage is only the Rabbanan. So when she falls to Yibum, it's only the Rabbanan. There's only a header of Eishesach the Rabbanan on Doraisa, and there's an Isser of Eishesach, the original marriage was Eishesach Doraisa, their father married off. So therefore, the mitzvah of Yibum is only the Rabbanan, and Isser of Eishesach Doraisa. There's no concept of Yibum over here on the Doraisa level, so therefore even the Rabbanan agree it's Asr. Gemara says, Amar Ifa, my time with the Rebbe Lazar. What's the reason, Rebbe Lazar? The reason is because originally when he married her, even by a Gdol, there's two cases in the Mishnah, one a Gdol, one a Ketana. When he married her and he divorced her, so now she has an Isser of Eishesach, right? Eishesach only applies when the brother dies, not when he divorces her. So the fact that he returned her afterwards doesn't doesn't help. She's already Eishasach Min HaGerishin, not Min HaMisa. Even though you returned her and she died, we reckon the first marriage is more important. If that's true, she's an Isra Eishasach, so there's no mitzvah of Yibum. So therefore, it's an erva falling to Yibum, so you don't need chalitza. Maybe you'll tell me he doesn't need chalitza. Atani Mishum Relezer Amru Choletes. Bryce Relezer says she has to do chalitza. Elam Raifa Relezer Liadana my time. We don't know the reason from Relezer. Amr Abaye Hainu time with Relezer. He'll tell you the reason of Relezer. Mesafkala Yimisim Apelas Inisu and Rishonim Apilim. Right, by Yibum, how does it work? Is that do we look at right now when the death of the brother? That's that is the main consideration now in the Yibum. Or is Yibum basically taking over the start of the marriage of the original brother who died? If it's right now, we reckon what's going on right now. Haram Yakamel Yibum, right? He was Megarish, then he's Maxer, and he died. So right now, he's a brother who died. So it's a matzav of Yibum. But if you say you go after the original marriage, so therefore the first marriage ended in Gerushin. So therefore there's an Israel Shazach created that is not a mitzvah of Yibum. So therefore it remains that Rav Amar, the Olam Shijal Rezer, the Misma Pelas. Even Rezer agrees. We focus on what's right now, and right now is a matzvah of Yibum. Miyu Hakol B'Kim Begerish and Hakol B'Kim Mechazara. In this case, it's an Isra Gzer that Rabbanan Rezer makes because people hear about the Gerishim, they don't hear that he returned her and then he died. It was Adar Rabba Chazra came on the Asar Totei. It's like Kal. What do you mean? When you remarries her, people do hear about that. When you remarries her, you remarried her. They're married again. People hear about that. No, there could be a case where technically he divorced her, right? And then he remarried her at the night, and he ended up dying the next morning, so people wouldn't hear about the Chazara, and that's why they made Xera Rebelezer. Ravashi Amar, another reason, the Gazar Hani Mishum Yisom Mechayav Vechzira, because of the latter case in our Mishnah, the last case in our Mishnah, where the father marries her off as a Ktana of Daraisa, and then he's Megarish her, and then she comes to Yisoma B'chayav, in which case everyone agrees, even the Rabbanan agree, that she's not allowed to do Yibum because the Isra Eishach Daraisa, and the mitzvah of Yibum is only the Rabbanan. Rashi makes the most sense. Tani Seifa, Tani Shesi Aviv and Isgarsha, Yisoma B'chayav, Echzira, Devrei Akol Sha'asura, Liyavam. Hi Mila Memra. What is that adding that case? That should be obvious for sure according to Belezer. Pshita Allah Hakam Ashmalan time with the Belezer the Gazer Hanach Mishum. Hi. The reason that it says that last case in the Mishnah is to tell you. I mean, even according to the Rabbanan, it's obvious, right? The mitzvah of Yibum is only the Rabbanan. She's Yisoma B'chayav. So therefore, obviously, there's no mitzvah. It wouldn't be Dochet Isra Doraisa Veishasach. So therefore, the reason I mentioned it must be revealing the reason of Belezer. The reason he goes there in the first two cases goes there because it might lead you to make a mistake in the last case, which would be a problem Doraisa. Shma Amina. Tanya goes to Ravashi, a Brisa like Ravashi. Modem Kal Belezer B'Ktanish Zia Aviv and Esgar Shari Yisam B'Chayav Echzira Sha'asur Liyavam. Maybe they should Gerushin Gemurim. Right when he divorced her, it was a real divorce. He was married to her. Amidaраisa. Vein Chazras like Mura. When she got remarried to him, it's only marriage to Rabbanan. She's like Yisoma. She's like an orphan. She can only get married to Rabbanan to him as a Ktana. But Medvar Amurim, when does it apply? Shagir Shekhtana Echzira Shekhtana. Even Megarisha when she's a minor, and he's Machzira when she's a minor. About Gir Shekhtana Echzira Shekdola. If he divorced her in Shekhtana and then he got remarried to her after she became Bat Mitzvah, Rinami Echzira Shekhtana Vagadla Etzlo. Or he returned her when she was Ktana, but she remained married to him until she became an adult. Umeis, and then he died, so then obviously she's a Gedola. If she had Bia with him, right? Afterwards, the Mian is precluded. We're going to learn at the end of the Daf that whether you have to Mian, whether you have to do Bia or not, right? If you do a marriage to Rabbanan, so she's going to Gedola. Does it automatically, when she goes to Gedola, she becomes married to the guy, or she has to do a Bia also? So according to all opinions, if she did a Bia, she becomes permanently married to him, and in which case, she could even do Yibum. Choletz is almost Abemes according to the Rabban, because she's a Gdola. Mishum Relezer Amru, Choletz is almost Abemes. Relezer says even in that case, only Chalitza not Yibum. Bamine Rav Nachman Sarasa Mao. Because Relezer goes there because of a case where she's still a Ktana. So that Relezer always makes the Xera, and the Rabban didn't make the Xera. So the where it says Bamine Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman Sarasa Mao. Right, the co-wife of this girl, could she do Yibum or not? Right, we said Xera, according to Belezer, that the woman herself, she can't do Yibum. because it might come to be a Yibum Derabanan with an Isra Ishlach Taraisa. So the woman herself, right? We're talking about a case where it's Xer Derabanan according to Rabbi Elazar, right? Where technically she was married, where she was a Gedola. The first two cases are Mishnah, where it would be Yibum Deraisa. She herself is a Xera. We're going to ask her the Sarah as a Xera. We don't make two Xeros. Whereas the time Shmuel Elazar Amru he Sarah Chalitza. But a Bryce really says her and Sarah have two Chalitza. The Gemara says he Sarah Tzakadaita. You don't do two Chalitzas. One Chalitza patters both women. Elav Ohi O Sarasa Chalitzas. Must be either she or the Sarah does Chalitza. So it's still a problem. Where it says Lav Terutza Kamatar Taritaki he Chalitzas Sarasa Chalitzas Memes. Since it's problematic, the wording will just say that we can interpret it, the Bryce and mean that she does chalitza, the woman has gzeir rabbanan, and the Sarah who can't make gzeir, she could do chalitza or yibum, because we wouldn't make gzeir gzeir. Even Blazer wouldn't make gzeir gzeir. The Mishnah says, Shnei achin asun l'shnei achayah. Two brothers are married to two sisters, but the problem with these two sisters are they're ktanos. They both marry ktanos, which is a marriage rabbanan. Omeis ba'ila shalachas men. One of the husbands died. Now there's a matzav of yibum over here. So the wife of the deceased brother, you don't need to do no yibum, no chalitza. She's pater because technically she's a sister. The first brother is the wife's sister, so therefore it's an erva. So there's no yibum, no chalitza, like we learned in the Mishnah Daf Beis. We're going to also learn coming up at the end of the parak about. There's another type of marriage rabbanan by a deaf mute, a woman who's a man or a woman who's deaf mute, right? They can't hear, they can't speak, so therefore their marriage is also their rabbanan. They can have marriage only their rabbanan. Gedola Viktana Meis Baila Shtei Charashos, and the same Allah would apply if two brothers marry two Charashos. Now the Mishnah turns to another case. Gedola Viktana Meis Baila Shalktana Teisei Aktana Mishmachos Isha Meis Baila Shal Gedola. So if the two brothers married two sisters. One was a gedola, right? She was of age. She was bat mitzvah, and one wasn't. So meis ba'ila shalchtana. So if the husband of the ktana died, teisei ktana mishmachos isha. So then it's very evident. So the ktana falls to yibam. She's a sister. She's pater min chalitza yibam. Isha achos isha meis ba'ila shal gedola. What happens though if the husband of the gedola dies? Right now the gedola falls to yibam to the other brother. There's a mitzvah yibum d'oraisa, but her marriage, the isser of achos isha, his marriage to the first sister is not a full achos isha. He's only married the rabbanan to her, so he's not really married to her on a d'oraisa level. It's no achos isha. What do you do there? So the story of opinions had to act. We teach the ktana that she should do miyun, because her marriage is only the rabbanan, and therefore the gedola will be allowed to marry and do yibum with the husband, with the remaining brother. We don't force her to do that. If she wants to do mina, she could do it. We let her keep her husband. So therefore, if she wants to be mayan, she can do mayan. But if she doesn't want to be mayan, wait till she comes older, of age, and then she does bia according to some opinions. Now she's married to the second guy, and once she's married to the brother, so therefore the woman, the Yevamos, the Shemeres Yavam, she's waiting yibam, she becomes achosisha, and she's pater then minachalitza min yibam midoraisa. Rishul Omer. He says it's a terrible situation. That guy, the remaining brother, he loses both his wife and he loses the Yevamos. Mostly as ishta beget, he's forced to give a get to his wife. A get severs the marriage of Rabbanan. Because there is a zika over there, because the situation of Yevamos d'oraisa, his marriage is only the Rabbanan, achos isha is only the Rabbanan over there. So therefore, it's achos kukoso. So therefore, he has to do chalitza to pater that zika, which is a zika midoraisa, and he gets neither of them. We'll explain Rabbi Yeshua in the Gemara why he says he can't. The previous two options aren't available. The Gemara says, "Omi shari." Are we allowed now into this last case? Or one is a ketana, one is a gedola, married to two brothers, right? And the ketana, the husband of the ketana dies. The husband of the Gdola dies, right, and the Gdola falls to the husband who's married to the Ketana, right, what do you do? So you have three opinions. So the first opinion is, he says we teach her to do miyun. in order to make mitzvah even the rice. And we shari, do we teach people do miyam? Tani bar kvar lo yidbak adam shlosh dvarim. Person should cling to three things. Yisrakim mishlosh dvarim, and distance himself from another three things. Yidbak mishlosh dvarim. He should cling to three things. Bechalitza, should do chalitza. We'll see. This brisa holds like Abba Shol. It's better to do chalitza than you. Mumabava shalom. You should always try to bring peace between people. Uba faras nedarim. You should annul nedarim. Yisrachim mishlosh dvarim. You should distance yourself from three things. Minamiyun. You shouldn't do miyun. I mean, hapikdonos. You shouldn't watch a deposit for other people for free. Basically, it's going to link to problems. Minaravonos. You shouldn't be a guarantor on a loan. So you see that miyun is not a good thing. Where I answer is miyun in the mitzvah shiny. Miyun in general is not a good thing, but here you're enabling a mitzvah of yibum daraisa. So in that case, we say it is good the idea of miyun, according to Rabbi Lezer. Gufa. Let's examine the previous Baisha. Tani bar kapar lolam yidbak adam shlosh dvarim mechalitza. That is according to Abba Shol. The Sanya Abba Shol Omer Akonis Yunta l'shem Noy l'shem Ishas l'shem Davar Acher Kilu Pageb Erva V'Karov Ve'ein Al Yosef Al Mamzer. Someone who does yibum because the woman is beautiful, or he wants to be married to someone, or for an ulterior motive, not for the mitzvah. It's almost like he did arayas. There's no mitzvah of yibum over here, and therefore there's Ishas Ishasach. And the child is almost like a mamzer. I don't know what that means. They're a banan, or people look at it as a mamzer. Abba Shalom. How do you know Abba Shalom? Bringing peace is a good thing. They say Baki Shalom B'Rafeyu. You should run after peace. You should search peace and run after it. Top of Kuf Ten Amud Beis. Amar Rabbi Abba. It says Askir Radifa V'Gzeir Shava Radifa Ksiv Hacha Baki Shalom B'Rafeyu. Search peace and run after it. Ksiv Hasa Amrodev Stuck of a Chesed. Im Sachayim Stuck of a Kavod. Someone runs after Staka and Chesed. He will end up finding life and justice and honor. So these are good things. Life and justice, honor. These are good things. So therefore, you see that bringing peace to other people is going to give you a lot of rewards. But as far as Hadarim, how do you know that's a good thing? Rab Nassan, the sign of Rab Nassan Omer, his opinion is, I know they're kilubana bama, someone who takes a neder, either he asks for something on themselves or he takes a neder to bring a korban. It's like he takes a vow. You don't have to take a vow. You could just do it. It's like he built a bama. Bama is a mizbeach outside the Beis HaMikdash. We're not allowed to build that now. You built your own mizbeach by makaimo. Someone who actually fulfills his neder, doesn't get rid of it. He's not mat to the neder. He fulfills the neder. Kilu higrav al korban. It's like you did a double thing. You built the bama and then you're makir the korban of the bama, which is the real yisur. Yisrachim b'shlosh dvarim. He should distance himself from three things. Minamaunin. The reason he should distance himself from miyun dilma gadol michritaba. Because maybe the girl, if we encourage her to do miyun, maybe she's going to grow up and say, "Wow, I was 7 years old. I thought I didn't like the guy, but now I really like the guy," and she's going to lose out. Mina pigdonos. You shouldn't take deposits. Bar masa the baise ki baise dami. Talking about someone who lives in the city with you, who frequently visits your house, and he's depositing stuff by you. So a lot of people try to take advantage of other people, especially monetarily. So maybe he'll claim, he'll take the deposit back when you're not looking, and then I'll claim, "Where's my deposit?" and I'll try to get back double from you. So it's not worth taking that risk. Mina Ravon, you shouldn't be a guarantor on a loan. Ba'arvei Shaltzion, and talking about the guarantors in a place of Shaltzion. The Amar Yisrael might have Ra Yeroa Ki Ariv Zar, bad after bad, because you're a guarantor to a stranger. Ra Chara Tavol L'Makabla Geirim. So this pasuk refers to three things according to Yitzchak. Bad things, if people are makabel gerim. Ariv Zar could also be a guarantor. It could also be someone who guarantees a stranger, meaning you're makabel ger, right? You're magayer, a person. La'arvei shaltzion l'tokei atzmal l'dvar halacha. Tokei atzmal l'dvar halacha is the end of the pasuk. The end of the pasuk says, the sonei tokim boteach. Someone who hates tokim, people attach themselves to others. Boteach, he will have security. So it's a bad thing to be tokei l'dvar Torah. We'll find out what that is in a second. So the Gemara says, "Makable gerim." How do you know it's bad to accept gerim? Gerim are bad to Yisrael, like sapachas, something attaches to them, because one of the explanations is that gerim keep the mitzvahs better than Jews, and they make the Jews look bad. Right? They grew up with Judaism, they look bad. Sapachas ba'or, sapachas is a type of saras on your skin. Arvi shaltzion, in this place shaltzion, the avdi shluf dutz. The type of guarantee they make on the loan is that normally when a person takes out a loan, the creditor goes after the debtor first. and then if he can't pay, he goes to the guarantor. But in Arvi Shalzion, they went to the guarantor first, and the guarantor has to then collect from the borrower, so it's hard to collect your money. It's not worth getting involved. Rabbi Yossi said anyone who says I don't have Torah, he doesn't have Torah. The Gemara says Pshita. If he's not learning Torah, he's not going to have the scar of Torah. Torah. He's only going to learn Torah. I'm not going to be carrying the mitzvahs. Ein lo ela Torah. He only has a scar of Torah. Hanami Pshita. That's also obvious. At least he gets a scar for learning Torah. The Gemara says El dafilu Torah ein lo. If he says I only learn Torah, he doesn't even get the scar for learning Torah. My time. Amar Rav Papa Amar Krav Limadtem v'asisem. It says in the Torah you should learn and do. Right, and right after learning you should do it. Anyone who performs the Torah, he accomplishes the Torah, he is involved in keeping the Torah, his limud counts as limud. Anyone who's not doing the Torah, his learning is worthless, is valueless. Like we said originally, Torah. Because they only have Torah, he only has Torah. Right? He learns Torah, but also part of his learning, he likes to, he wants for his own kavod, he wants to say a shir to some people, so that people will give him kavod. So he teaches other people also. His main purpose in life is to sit in kollel for the rest of his life and just learn, but it's boring to sit in kollel for your life. You want to give over to other people, so they'll give you more kavod and you have an audience to say it to. So so the Gemara says, so you're not keeping the Torah, but they're makayim the Torah. They're going to the same Islay, maybe you get scar because you're learning, even though it didn't lead to you keeping the Torah, but let the other people keep the Torah. Kamash Mlan, no, you don't get scar for them keeping the Torah. Maybe not even scar for you learning the Torah. Talking about something else, but talking about a judge. A judgment comes in front of him. He's learned about these halachos and but he hasn't learned that exact question. And he compares what he's learned previously to this incident. He has a rebbe he could ask to clarify the issue. He relies on his own knowledge, which is not, he never heard really about this case, and he rules erroneously. A dayan, it's not talking about a rav here, it's talking about a dayan, someone who's involved in dinei maminis, dinei nefashos, a civil case or a criminal case. He has like a sword placed between his thighs. It's like Gehenim is opened up right underneath him. He could fall very easily into Gehenim. Shlomo had 60 strong people. These strong people were Dayanim, strong in Torah. They were afraid at night. They weren't talking about the night. It was talking about they were Dayanim and they were afraid of making an error in their rulings. So therefore, and the way they avoided that, they always had the fear that they're going to fall into Gehenim, which is similar to night. Gamliel says he has a second opinion what to do in this strange case, where the Gdola falls to the brother who's married to the Ktana. Relezer asked Rav, my time with Gamliel, what's Gamliel's reasoning? Gamliel says if she wants to, and if not, she could. If not, wait till she becomes older. And then the sister, the Yevamos, is pater. Do we assume that the Kedusha Ktana, right, brothers married to the Ktana, the Kedushin is, regenerating every cell. It's waiting. It's awaiting a final judgment. And when she becomes older, then it becomes a Kedushin Doraisa, Afagav Lo Baal, and therefore should become the husband of that guy, even if they don't do a Be'ilo. Or is it because he holds that if you have a Yevama waiting for you, and then you're Makadesh, her sister, right? Even after the Yevama fell to you, you didn't do Chalitz or Yibam for you, you're Makadesh, her sister, that sister, the Yevama, is Pater from Yibam. And therefore we depend if he's Boal her, because he's Boal her, he did Kedushin, right? It's not because the Kedushin is waiting, the Kedushin is only the Rabbana, it stopped, it's only the Rabbana. But now when you become older and she does a Bila, then she becomes a Kedushin Daraisa. Bila works for Kedushin and maybe Nisuin. Amalei had a time with Gamliel, he said the reason Gamliel Mishum the Kasavar Mkadish Achas Kivama and Niftra Yevama Mahalcha, like the second reason. Bali and Lo Balo, it has to do Bila. Amar Sheshes Amina Kinayim B'Shakara, Amar La Shmaisa. Rav must have been sleeping when he said the following. The Sanya says her Kiddushim are dependent, they're hanging in the air. Sounds like the first thing, or the Kiddushin are, they're Abanon, but they're on their way to being the Raisa. My Tluyin, what does it mean Tluyin? Lavki Gadla Gadli Pada, right? That it's hanging in their balance, and when she goes older, then they become finalized. Avagavla Bal, even they're not don't do Beila, which is a Gdola. Amalei Rav and Breder Rav Nachman, Ha Milsa Diktana Milsa, he answered, Ha Milsa Diktana Mitla Tali Vekam. The idea of the Ktana is hanging in the balance. Ibalin, Ilo Bal Lo. But really, you need to do Beila. The Amra, who adith minay v'ana adifna minay. In one way is it hanging in the balance? It's hanging in the balance in the fact that it could be terminated at any time, right? When she's a Ktana, the man could always terminate by giving her a get, and she could always terminate at any time by doing Miyah. So therefore, it's hanging in the balance. We're going to see what's going to happen. Both of them can end it. So that's all it means. But really, her Kiddushin is only the Rabbanan. It'll never be more than the Rabbanan. And if you want to do a Kiddush D'Oraisa, he has to go and be Boel or when she becomes a Gedola. And that would be the finality. That would make her the wife over there. We'll get more into this discussion over here if you have to do Beila or not when she comes to Gedola. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We're going to talk about a little bit about Gadda. Why not? About one of my favorite topics over here. Torah. Someone who says Ein li ela Torah, afilu Torah ein lo. You're going to want to check it out here coming up next.